my name is Dr. Mayur Hazarika. I have cleared the UPSC CSE 2022 with All India rank 5. This was my first attempt at UPSC, and I have done my graduation in MBBS from Guwahati Medical College, Assam. I have done my schooling in Don Bosco High School, Tejpur, Assam, and after that I did my graduation from Guwahati Medical College. So my educational journey has been in Assam itself. I have not gone outside Assam so far, and I actually also prepared for UPSC staying in Assam itself. And my family consists of this father, mother, and my younger sister is there. There have not been any civil servant in my family. I'll be the first generation. I relied primarily on self-study. However, I did join an online coaching from Delhi. My strategy for the prelims was basically that I would actually relied much more on revision rather than running after lots of resources. I fixed a few good quality resources, and then once I fixed those resources, I actually relied on revising those multiple number of times. And also I did a few mocks, not a lot of those, because there was a crunch of time. I was also a working candidate. So whatever time I could manage, I did with the mocks, but the basic strategy was to rely more on revision. So I actually selected some base resources, and whenever something came up with current resource or something, then I used to add it in that base resource itself. So for polity, I relied on Lakshmikant, and then for Indian history, I used, there was a book from McGraw-Hill's publication, Sonali Bansal. And for ancient and medieval, I once again another McGraw-Hill's publication book, Poonam Dalal Dahiya, ma'am's book was there. For geography, I used PMFIS book, and then for environment, I used PMFIS once again book. And for science and tech, I relied on coaching material, and for economics also, I relied mostly on coaching material. But besides that, if there was some basic book, then I used Nitin Singhania's economy book. And then for art and culture also, mostly around the coaching material, and sometimes Nitin Singhania here and there, but mostly coaching related material. Okay, so I actually, normally the trend is that people say that one should be attempting above 80, but I was almost sure with around 50 or 55. So almost not sure, but almost sure. And so my attempt was low. I attempted around 71 questions in prelims. The basic strategy still remained the same. I relied much more on revising the basic things that I had already studied. What I did as value addition was that I actually collected lots of statistics and data. So while writing the answer, whatever point I used to give, my objective was that I need to substantiate it with some points or data. So I actually learned a lot of statistical data for this purpose, and also a number of case studies as well for GS2. GS1, giving statistical data is a little bit difficult. However, we can come up with some examples, and also I put all those things. And for GS3, statistics definitely. For GS4, the main issue I think that a lot of candidates faced this time was a time management. There was a time crunch mostly. And however, I managed to finish the paper well. I think I managed it at least like 2-3 minutes before the last final call. And as for essays, obviously one can rely much more on anecdotes, stories, examples, and that should be the basic overall strategy while writing essay paper. So just as I said that actually I had a lot of time crunches, so I was unable to go for a lot of test series. However, instead of since I had the time crunch, so I was unable to write. But what I did was that I analyzed a lot of answers, model answers that were provided by the various coaching institutes, and I actually wrote like only 3 or 4 half-length main test series. That is not recommended. I would not recommend that to anybody, but that was my circumstance, and I had to manage with that itself. During my MBBS period, actually it was very difficult to manage with both, but I just started getting the hang of whatever the syllabus was, what was the pattern. Not very dedicatedly, only cursory reading of the basic books like Lakshmikant, or at that time I was studying Spectrum also. So just cursory reading, not detailed. However, during my internship period or during my rural service, I actually started going into a little bit details of the subjects. And then, however, since I was working, so I could not manage a lot of hours before pre. When my job was over by after pre. So before pre, I used to study for like 4 or 5 hours a day, and after pre, I had to study. I actually studied for like 9 to 10 hours a day. Okay, so I actually did not cut off completely from social media. However, it was not that I was very actively participating as well. I was just more like a passive uh, recipient of information and whatever analysis was available. Because I believe that in today's world, lots of analytical points are available on social media. So we can actually use it very smartly and not get distracted by it and not get addicted to it. And actually relied more on that, more like passive and smartly using social media rather than going for an absolute cut off from social media. So as for online resources, there are both paid and unpaid or free resources. As for paid resources, obviously there are lots of coaching institutions nowadays which are providing that. And as it's free resources, a number of sites that I used on a regular basis was, firstly, there was for current affairs. I sometimes used to rely on insights. And what I used to do before pre, since I was not giving a lot of mocks, I used to go for daily quizzes of insights. Not the current part, but mostly the daily static questions part of insights. I used to solve. They just give 5 questions. I used to solve those almost on a regular basis. And for mains, I think Drishti ISS portal is one of the portals which provide a very detailed analysis of any topic. It's very nice. So I used that as well for a lot of points to be used in mains. And also for, since my first preference was Indian Foreign Service, so I actually had to rely on online resources for international relations and that topic. So I used to see a lot of YouTube videos of a number of YouTube channels. For example, I think there was a channel called World Affairs, Current World Affairs or something, and then there was Study IQ. So I used those. I actually followed those channels for international relation or economy related topics for the current part. That is not the static, but mostly the current related issues. Okay, I actually had the urge that I might go to Delhi, but somehow I thought that maybe I should give an attempt by staying back in Assam itself. And since I actually found the resource that I had, that online coaching that I had joined, I thought that maybe it would be sufficient because they were almost the same teachers who were teaching in the online course itself. And I think it is possible in today's world with the availability of such resources. And by my own personality type, I rely much more on self-studying rather than somebody else teaching me. And so it suited me that I study on my own. I actually enrolled for online coaching of Next IS. Just as I said before, that I actually relied much more on self-study. It's not that for all the subjects I was going for the coaching thing. Only on those concepts or those topics where I was actually finding it difficult to deal with my own, I used to go and search those topics in the coaching itself, whatever the topic was. And only those, I went through those. For example, for art and culture or for economy and for science and tech. These were the 3 basic subjects that I was relying on coaching. For the rest, like polity, modern Indian history, ancient medieval, geography, I actually did it on my own. I was actually, I did not have a proper resource for current affairs. I was actually switching from one resource to another, trying and that. What I realized that you can just rely on any one, if you want, then the candidates can rely on any one monthly magazine of any institute. It's fine, does not matter. Any reputed coaching institute's monthly compilation they can follow, or one can go for current newspapers as well on a daily basis. And I think that's enough. And for the interview stage, one needs to rely much more on newspaper. I actually went to Delhi after the mains result was out for mock interviews. And just keep on revising whatever you have already studied. And once you keep on revising, you also need to be very smart with eliminating options in the pre, and also wishing them all the best for the upcoming pre exams.